evening. It's Monica from Life is Art and Scrap. It's Monday. Let's create. We had some major technical difficulties happening yesterday with the live stream, and we were unable to resolve them in quick enough time to get everything working just so. And so we had to we had to cancel our plans for doing a live stream yesterday, and then I'm just adjusting the camera here. Everything was just a little bit out of whack. Hopefully that will work a little better. So we figured out the problem. I say we, I mean my husband, because he's the smart one. And my daughter had been involved in a bunch of stuff over the last week. She was speaking at the AgriCon Museum. She had senior band and jazz band concert at her school. She had annual ceremonial review with her air cadets, plus some stuff that was already on my camera. So I went and I plugged the thing into my laptop and downloaded the stuff from my camera, which was fine, except for neither my husband, who was watching me do this, nor I was aware that my laptop, which I never downloaded stuff from my camera onto, was set up to sync to OneDrive. And so I did that at like noon. And the whole rest of the day, my laptop was chugging, syncing with OneDrive, whatever that means, because I have no clue. And it was eating up all the bandwidth. My son was trying to stream on Twitch, and it wasn't going well, and I was trying to upload a video to YouTube, and it wasn't going well, so I canceled that, and we even restarted the router before we knew what the problem was, and it was just a whole fiasco. So when I went to stream last night, it was not happening. It was just awful. So we sorted the problem. My husband sorted the problem because he's a whiz and he knows about all these things. He figured out what the problem was. And so, yay, we are on this evening. We're going to do some crafting, the crafting that we were planning on doing yesterday. I was so proud of myself, too, because we were out to lunch yesterday and I took some photos and I was going to scrap them. And I was going to be so proud of myself that I took photos and scrapped them all in the same day. And here we are the next day. So what did they say? Pride comes before the fall. Yeah, that's the situation. That's the situation that we were in. So good evening, Joanne. Nice to see her watching. And Heather is here too. And my mom. Good evening. Good evening. We are here. And I'm going to be using one of the collections from the Stampin' Up! Annual Catalog. It's the very first one in the collection section. We are going to be using the Mediterranean Blooms, which is a gorgeous collection. It's very citrusy. There's lemons and limes and lots of blue and white mixed in there. And so we're going to be using that today. We're also going to be using some cardstock, and yeah, really that's, we're also going to be using some little jemmies, some frosted dots. So those are the fun things that we're going to be using, and we're going to be scrapping some photos. Now you notice my camera's raised up high. It's all nice and clear today. And we're going to be making a double page layout, and we're going to start with white cardstock for this. And so I'm going to actually stick these down to my mat so that they don't move around while we're crafting. So I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive right in the center of my cardstock, line it up, because I'm actually going to use a ruler to assist me with what we're doing today, because we're working across 2 pages. And so I want to make things sure that things are going to line up nicely when it comes to adding in our papers and things. So I think it's been a while since we did a double page layout. And so yeah, excited to do that. I've got my photos printed, and I'm going to be using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 photos, I think. I think there's 6 photos. Yes, that sounds about right. It was yesterday when I got this ready, so hopefully I remember what it was I was doing. But the first pattern that I want to start with is this beautiful one that's very geometric. It really has that Mediterranean feel about it, and it just looks like beautiful tile work. It's kind of a mid-size pattern, and I actually have it cut in two pieces. So the first piece is this skinnier one that is 2 inches by 12 inches. And then we have this wider one that is 7 inches by 12 inches. And I actually cut them so that the patterns match here. Okay, so that when they span across, it actually makes sense in your album. They're not whack. Tried to do that on purpose. So let's add some adhesive on here. The back side is a beautiful pattern that we're also using on this layout. So we were out to lunch yesterday. I think we were out to lunch in many ways. We were very tired after Wednesday at the museum, Thursday at the school concert. Friday was practice for the annual ceremonial review. And then Saturday all day at the ceremonial review. I know Julia she's exhausted. In fact, she's not feeling well today. Thankfully, today was a PA day because the teachers are writing report cards. And so she basically stayed in her room and relaxed all day. I have a feeling she's going to be home tomorrow because she says she's not feeling well. Her throat is sore and, a little bit of cough. Of course, when she was doing some of the events, she wasn't wearing a mask. Since she was sick so often, she's been trying to wear a mask more when she's in big groups of people, but you can't do that all the time, especially when you're playing a saxophone. So she's not feeling well. So today's been kind of a lull kind of day, but we did get to go out for a nice lunch on Sunday thanks to my mom and dad. It was an anniversary gift from them, and so that was very lovely. Now, we're going to be doing a pattern that kind of spreads across both pages. We've got some nice vertical lines going right now, but we're going to add in some horizontal lines, and that's where I want to bring in my ruler to make sure that I keep everything lined up. So I'm going to put my ruler all the way across at 1 inch on my mat here. The first piece I'm bringing in is just a 1/4 inch strip of Night of Navy cardstock, and this has been cut to 9 inches. Every strip on this side will be 9 inches wide. All the strips on this side will be 4 inches wide, if I remember correctly. So 9 inches, and it's a 1/4 inch strip. Night of Navy cardstock, which I'm thinking has become one of my favorites. Just like Sapphire and Harbor were favorites of mine before. Night of Navy kind of ticks all the boxes for that one. And so we're just going to line that up, butting it right up against the pattern paper. We've left 1 inch at the bottom, and that's also going to allow us to leave 1 inch at the side with those measurements. And so we're going to have a nice little border of 1 inch of white space going all the way around. That's the plan anyway. We'll see how that pans out. So let's line this up on the right-hand side at 1 inch. We're going to bring in the same piece of Night of Navy cardstock, 1/2 inch by 4 inches. Now, if this pattern was just a little bit different. Now, I was inspired by a Pinterest post because I saw this gorgeous layout. It was using different papers, different everything, but just the kind of style and the strips and things. It was posted by Jen Mahan, who was actually close to my heart maker at the time. So that's kind of exciting. And yeah, so it was posted by them, and I was inspired by it. So sometimes you just need those little bits of inspiration to get you going. Next, we're going to take a strip of the pattern paper from the Mediterranean Blooms, and this is a much smaller pattern. This is not a zip strip because we don't have zip strips. This is just a 1/2 inch strip of the beautiful pattern paper, and it's got that night of navy, but it's still kind of reminiscent of the tiles, but a small pattern. So we've got a medium pattern and a small pattern. Keep that in mind because it's going to come into play here shortly. One thing that I like to do when I'm creating a layout is I like to think about the scale of the patterns that are included in what I'm creating, and that that will come to light here. Now, I've also got a strip to go on the other side, and I'm not 100% sure that these are going to line up, but that's pretty close. So this one again is the 4-inch piece, so 1/2 inch by 4 inch, 9-inch on the left, 4 inches on the right. I was going to say, if it had been slightly different, because 9 plus 4, if you can do math, unlike me, is 13 inches. So if it was just a little bit different, if you tweaked it just a little bit, we could have had it so that like a 1 12-inch strip would do both sides, but I didn't. So that's just how it is. Next, we're going to bring in this large scale pattern. So remember, we were talking about how this is a mid-size, this is a small scale, this is a large scale pattern. And I love that it's different. It's jumping away from the blue and whites, and now we're going into something that's kind of florally, a little bit citrusy. And these are oranges and lovely little blossoms and little sprigs and twiggies, and I love it. Good morning, Lynn. Nice to see you're watching. It's actually the backside of the pattern that we're using. So it's good that we have 2 of these sheets in the collection because you can use one for one side and the other side for another part. So this one is 4 inches by 9 inches, or sorry, 9 inches by 4 inches. And we're just going to line that up. We're going to try and keep ourselves going straight on this because we want everything to kind of line up in the end. And hopefully I've cut everything so that it is lining up that way. So on the right-hand side, we're going to use a 4x4 piece. I keep laying it on that pattern, and I can't tell where I need to put my adhesive. It all just blends in. It's like camouflage, pattern on pattern. There we go. I like that this is oranges because, or citrusy, could be little mandarins, because the restaurant that we went to was a Japanese restaurant, and Asian restaurants especially like sort of that citrusy, or cultures, Asian cultures, have a thing with oranges, right? I'm not 100% sure that Japan is as much as China, but kind of gave the feel for me anyway. So we've got another 1/2 inch strip of this small scale Mediterranean blooms pattern to kind of put a border on either side of our citrusy floral number. We've now got a 4-inch piece that's going to go on the right hand side. So a little bit of a story there with the Japanese restaurant. So my mom and dad gave us money to go out for dinner for our 25th anniversary. And they know that one of our favorite places to go is the Japanese restaurant, our local Japanese restaurant here in Brampton called 168 Sushi. Favorite restaurant. We've been going there years and years and years. And so yesterday, Sunday, we pull into the parking lot and it's closed. It's closed down forever and ever. It's closed down. It is no longer a restaurant. They're putting in something else. And we were like, oh no, what do we do? Like, we've been going to this restaurant for so long. Obviously, we hadn't been in there for a few months, maybe about 3 months, maybe more. And we didn't bother even looking. We didn't check. We just assumed we could go and get a table at our favorite restaurant because there's always a table. And yeah, so they're gone. Apparently, I guess the landlord hadn't renewed their contract or whatever, so they closed. And we were like, oh no! So we had to quickly go online on the phone, and scout out other restaurants. So we went to a different one and it was lovely. And so I guess now we have a new favorite Japanese restaurant in Brampton. So yay. All right, now I'm actually jumping away from the Mediterranean blooms. I didn't even tell you what I was putting on here, did I? I was too busy with my story. This is a bit of Cajun Craze, and it was cut to, I'll have to measure it here because I put it down, 1.5 inches. So it's 9 by 1.5, and then 4 by 1.5. So I like that the strips are all different sizes. Then I'm going to use some of the Country Woods collection. And this is a 9 by 2-inch strip of this really small grained wood. It's large plank, like the plank is basically the whole page, but it's small grained, so it kind of gives you that smaller feel to it. And it's lovely because it's sort of that old weathered white and sort of bluish, which really goes lovely with all of our blue patterns here. So that's from the Country Woods collection. So again, I've got another piece for the other side. Again, it's 4 inches by 2 inches. That's going to go on to the right-hand side. And again, that cardstock was Cajun Craze, which is pulling out the darker orange from the citrus there. From the oranges. The orange from the oranges. And we're going to tuck that along there. It's nice when you're doing something that's so like straight lined and you start out just at, with your ruler and you put a measurement down and then everything just kind of builds on it. There's not a lot of thinking, which is why I'm talking so much and probably not explaining what's happening so much. So now I've got a piece of the Night of Navy. We're going to bookend the tower of strips we've created with the same one we started with. So we had a 1/2 inch strip down here. We're adding a 1-inch strip of Night of Navy at the top. And I think that's going to create a nice effect, right? Where you've got the same color on either side, top and bottom. Anyway, you continue it from one place to another. There we go. Our backing is trying to jump back on. So we're going to line that up at the top, just like that. And now you can see we've created that 1-inch border of the white all the way around, which I think is a nice effect. And now we have our 4-inch by 1-inch piece of the Night of Navy cardstock. And if you're looking for 12 by 12 of the cardstocks from Stampin' Up, like the Night of Navy, what you want to do is you want to buy one of the collections. That's how you get the 12 by 12s. So the Night of Navy is in the Neutrals collection, and the Cajun Craze, if you want a 12 by 12, let me just check. I think it's in the Regals collection. Yes, it's in the Regals collection. So you can get a 12 by 12 in the cardstock assortment that is 12 by 12. Now, for what I did here, I actually had the 8.5 by 11 Cajun Craze. And so you can get that as an individual color in the 8.5 by 11, or you can get the 8.5 by 11 assortment too. So it just depends on what you want. But for the 12 by 12, you have to get the assortment. So you got options for the 8.5 by 11s. Okay, so then I went into my stash to help me. Oh, well, before I do that, let's get our photos on there. I was about to show you like the title and stuff. We haven't even got the photos on. All right, so I have a whole stack of photos here because, like I said, I'm putting lots of photos on here. We got a big layout to fill. So here's the first one, and these are 3 by 4s. This one is Justin, all dressed up, and he was actually wearing like a purpley striped shirt, and I decided to use white for my matting. So I'm going to go ahead and stick this down. So my photos are 3 by 4, and so my cardstock is, I believe, 3 1/8 by 4 1/8. Yes, it is. I only wanted just a tiny bit of the matting, because I didn't want to hide too much of my background. Okay. So, and then we have Joshua hanging out there. It was so funny. All the guys sat on one side of the table, and Julie and I sat on the other. It was like, okay. But it worked out. I think the guys sat on the other side because that was where the chairs were. Julie and I sat on the side that was like the banquette. So, you know, we had the comfy side. We were not complaining whatsoever. We had the comfy side. All right. Haven't got that quite lined up. Let's line it up a little better. There we go. So there's Joshua. And then we have Dad. We have Sean. And I thought he has red suspenders. But when you look at those red suspenders up against that Cajun Craze, well, also his beard. We'll just call him the Cajun Craze from now on. He kind of looks nice with that color. So that kind of drove me to choose that color cardstock and also this pattern, along with the fact that it's nice little oranges and it just seemed to be thematic with a Japanese restaurant. But the colors matched. Sometimes you just got to go with what colors match too. So again, this is a 4x6, and so this has been cut to 4 1/8 by 6 1/8. It's approximately a 4x6. My printer is not, oh, that's a little crooked, but just ignore it. We're going to go with a little bit crooked here. So I'm going to line it up with about 3 inches from the bottom and about 1/4 of an inch in, and then kind of space everybody out. But I want the tops of the photos to line up. So there we go. So now there's just a little smidgen of that orange showing. In fact, I'm going to scooch him over a little bit to make a little bit more of that orange show. But you get the idea that it's there. Okay, so now on this side, we have a picture of Julia, and she was doing the whole, oh, do you have to take a picture of me? And I'm like, yes, I do, because I'm going to be scrapbooking this. So this is her, but she also looks really good with that Cajun Craze. So she's a crazy Cajun as well. All the gingers in the family. So we're going to go ahead. She's a 3x4 photo. Joanne's saying, it looks like a lovely wallpaper border for a kitchen. This citrusy one, yeah, I could totally see that. In fact, I've probably seen it in somebody's kitchen. Yeah, lemons and citrus and stuff, they really go, don't they? So we're going to kind of just park that there for now. And then we've got a couple 4x6s that are horizontal. So we have this one of Julia and I. Yes, she took her hands away for this photo because I think I actually surprised her a bit. She was like, what? I think she was listening to her brother say something, and I just kind of snapped the picture. So we'll add that on there. It's nice to mix in some horizontal lines along with all the vertical portrait photos. Landscape versus portrait. So adding that. And then the 3 guys. We're sitting all on this side. Joshua's giving me side eye because he clued in that I was taking a picture, and the other 2 had not a clue. Sean was using the iPad thing to figure out what he wanted off the menu. So I actually kept these photos in the same way that they were sitting at the table because it just kind of made sense. Sometimes you do things because it just kind of makes sense. And there we go. Apparently, I didn't get the blue/black memo. I was the only one who was wearing a different color, which is kind of funny because blue is my favorite color. So this one, I want to line up at the 3 inches, same as the one on the left. And we're going to leave the same gap that we're leaving on the left. And then this one's going to hover above, however it sits. And then this one, we want it to line up with these ones over here, which should be lining up just a bit above the 9-inch line. So we're going to get these ones stuck down, and then I'll use the ruler to help me line up this 3x4 over here. So let's go ahead and stick these on. first thing I want to do is put my ruler across at approximately 3 inches, like that. And maybe I'll move it down just a touch because we've got that 1/8 of an inch of the matting on there. So we're kind of accounting for the matting. So let's add that on there, like so. And then we'll use our ruler to line up with the top of that photo so that we could line up the guys. It's not always that I use the ruler, but the last couple of layouts I've made, I have been using my ruler quite a bit. It's handy to have a ruler that's a little bit longer than normal. This is a 16-inch ruler, so that lets me get quite a distance across a layout. So stick that one down there like that. And then this one. So I'm just checking to see how far above the 9 that is. It's just a twiggle above a 9. When my grandmother, you'd ask her, do you want something more to drink? You know, you try to pour something into her cup and she'd say, just a twiggle. Just a twiggle. So just a twiggle above the 9. Let's set that aside. Actually, no, we're going to bring it back because we're going to do the 3. And I've got to just adjust my things here. So we went just a little bit below the 3. It's that one. Oops. Throwing photos around. And I'm not following my usual rule of keeping the tape away from the edges so much because I know I'm not tucking anything under on this particular layout. I think there's a lot happening with all of the beautiful patterns in behind the photos, so not a lot of embellishing is needed. There will be some, because we can't not embellish, but there's not going to be a lot. Okay, so this one is just going to be eyeballed. This will be the exception here. This is the eyeballing one. So we'll just kind of line that up above that one and stick it down. And then we want to come with our ruler and just have that a twiggle above the 9. So we can stick down this photo. Does anybody else have weird words that they learn just because somebody in their family says it? Twiggle, scooching over. I know I've noticed that not everybody knows what scooching over means. I told it to a few kids, like when my kids were little and we play at the park, you know, kids would sit on the bench and, you know, somebody else would try to come and squeeze their way in and I'd say, just scooch over a little bit. And the kids would look at me like, what the heck are you talking about? What in the world is scooching? And I'm like, you just like scooch your bum over a little. Nobody knew what I was talking about. It's okay. All right. So for my title, this is where I started to go a while ago and then realized I hadn't put the photos on. For the title, I went into my stash, found some dies to cut out some letters, and I used the Cajun Craze. For some reason, that one looks like it should go this way. What do you think? I think so. Just to write out the word sushi. Sushi. For some reason in our house, whenever you say sushi, you have to go, sushi. And you have to make funny noises. Okay, so I'm going to attempt to stick these on straight-ish. That's my attempt. Sometimes I do wonky on purpose. This time I'm going to try and do them straight-ish. And I'm going to use liquid glue. And we're going to hope for the best. And I'm using my fun new tweezers that my mom got me. And I'm also trying to put it sort of in the center of this navy strip. Half on the wood grain from the country woods and half on the Night of Navy. That's my attempt. And I'm also trying to keep it straight. We'll see how all that works out. The best laid plans, right? Yeah, they don't always work, but that's okay. Just like my video last night. Best laid plans. I had this all ready to go. And then it was just not happening. Sushi. Sometimes we call it sushi. We're going for sushi. And we make funny sounds. It's one of our favorite things because my husband can eat sushi because they have lots of tofu stuff. Good for the vegan. Alrighty. My daughter actually really likes the inari, which is like a tofu pocket. So her and my husband are the ones that usually order a lot of tofu pockets. There we go. Let's give it a good squish down to make sure everything is staying there in the Cajun Craze cardstock. That's like a tongue twister. Cajun Craze cardstock. I was trying to play with my light here to see if I could get rid of that shiny bar across the photo, and I'm not sure I succeeded. Yeah, I'm not sure it's not that much better, but that's okay. We're getting to the end. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to do was to include the name of the restaurant because it was our first time at this newer restaurant, new to us, and it's called Tokyo Maki. And so I stamped that up on white stock. I used the Cajun Craze ink for that. And again, this was just an alphabet from my stash. And I also cut a same piece of the Cajun Craze cardstock. So my thinking is I'm going to make like a drop shadow with that Cajun Craze cardstock because, let me just do a visual here. This over here with that lovely background kind of gets a little bit lost. I mean, it does stand out, but it does get a little bit lost. And so I thought we're kind of going to balance the Cajun Craze up here with a little bit of Cajun Craze down here. And so we're just going to create a tiny little drop shadow for there. And I think that helps. I think that looks nice like that. Just adds a little bit of buffer, but it's not all the way around, so it's not too overwhelming. And then we can just go ahead and add some adhesive on there and stick that down. And I don't think it matters what size this is, but these are 1¼ inches by 5¼ It would really just depend on what it is you're stamping if you're trying to recreate this layout. This could also be a journaling spot instead of a title. You could just have it for journaling. Now, was there a plan? Was I going to line this up with anything? Was there a plan? Who knows if there was a plan? Let me see. If I line it up with the 2½, where does that put us? Yeah, that's not bad. I think we'll go with that line. And, you know, if I use this, then I could see to center it without my hands in the way. There we go, ish. There we go, ish. Kind of centering below that last photo there on the bottom. And then for a little bit of decoration, and because you know that I could not get through a project without fussy cutting something, I took one of the oranges from this pattern paper that just had a single orange, and I fussy cut it out. And yes, I even did cut some of those little interior bits with the X-Acto blade. I sure did. And then I cut out myself a, let me see, 2½-inch circle from the Cajun Craze just to put behind there to give it a little bit more presence. And we're just going to tuck it up here, just like that. Just as a little bit of an accent to pull those citrus to another spot. So we have 3 spots where that is. So let's go ahead. We're going to add some adhesive on here. Stick this down. Add some adhesive on the back of this. We're going to stick it down. There we go. Ta-da-da-da. So you can totally make your own little embellishments. I didn't buy the stamp set yet for this particular collection. There is a lovely stamp set that does stamp out some of these things, and I could do that. But because I haven't yet, it's going to be available all year. It's in the annual catalog. So for now, I'm just using it like that, just fussy cutting out. And then I didn't even have to color anything. I'm going to attach that on here like this for a nice little embellishment. And then I also pulled out the loose frosted dots because I thought, you know, our little title up here might need a little something something. And these frosted dots are in let me get the names straight. Daffodil, Pretty Peacock, and one of the pinks. It's the yellow that I want because it's actually the one for this. And I'm trying to think. There's 2 words for the name. It's something daffodil. Something daffodil. I gotta get these in my brain. Let me get it. Thank goodness. The Daffodil Delight. I should have known that. Daffodil Delight. So we're going to grab our Take Your Pick tool and some adhesive. And let's go ahead and add some lovely little blings up here to add some excitement around our title. So we're going to use the daffodil because that's what matches. And these are frosted. Oops. Dropped it. And stick one there. And there's different sizes, but you got to kind of flip them over. Oops, that was a yellow. When I first looked at it, it didn't seem like it was yellow. There we go. And stick it in the adhesive there. And then one more. Let's get a little one. There's even tiny little ones. There we go. If you look in the annual catalog, you will see that there are it already adhesive back things on sheets. They're great, but I find sometimes the better value is when you get the ones that are loose. You can sometimes get a nice little deal on things that are loose because you usually get a few more, and sometimes it's a little cheaper. And so let's grab a couple more of these. And they also come in this cute little container. Who doesn't love a cute little container to contain all your little gemmies, all your little bits? There we go. So there's a couple more there. And then maybe we will add just a couple down here, maybe 3. Maybe 3, and then I think we're good. So let's grab a big one, a tiny one, and a medium one. Turn it over. There we go. So the Take Your Pick tool has all different tips on it. So there's this one that helps you bend. There's also the one that helps you get all the little bits out of the little brushy wheel thing that helps you get all the bits out of your dies and things. But these come in these cute little containers too, just like the industrial trinkets that come with the airplane-y set, the Adventurous Sky one. So there we go. We have our completed layout. Now I won't, usually I flip over and remove the adhesive backing, but because I've now got those lovely frosted dots on there, embellishing, I don't want to flip it over because I will probably lose them because they need a minute to dry. But there we go. We started out with this gorgeous tile looking pattern paper. Then we added in the beautiful strips of cardstock and patterns using all different patterns, even some of the country woods. We added in some of the Cajun Craze to pick up on that lovely dark orange. We matted our photos with just plain white, same as the background. I love how we've maintained a nice little 1-inch border all the way around our layout, which created a nice vertical line with this pattern and then lovely horizontal lines with all these different strips. We even added a little embellishment with some fussy cut pieces from the pattern paper and a little bit of stamping, a little bit of die cutting to create our titles. And we have left space to add journaling. We could add some little journaling here, add journaling here, lots of places to add journaling. We could even journal along the white edge too, which would be super fun. So I hope you guys enjoyed seeing this out to lunch layout come together using Mediterranean bloom and the country woods and some beautiful Night of Navy and Cajun Craze cardstock. I hope you're inspired to create a layout like this for yourself. And just once again, this layout was inspired by a Pinterest post by Jen Mahan. And have a wonderful evening. Thank you for being patient with all of our strange technical difficulties yesterday, but we did finally get to do our layout. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you again soon. Toodaloo. Bye.